Hi again, welcome back to my shed. This is episode 3 of my first timer's guide to the Scottish 6-day trial. Thanks to everybody who's taken time to send me messages and comments on the first 2 episodes. All the feedback so far has been really good, really positive, which is brilliant. That's sort of why I'm doing this. If it helps out even one person, as I've said before, then great. If it helps out more than that, brilliant. We're loving it. So thank you very much. Some of the feedback has been on what sort of things would you check maybe on a daily basis on the bike. And I will cover that in the episode on bike preparation. I've also had some comments about things like the daily time limit and how do you work out your time and delay time and things like that. So I'm actually thinking there's probably an extra episode there that I didn't even think of myself. So I'll have a wee think about that, and I will cover that. I think there's probably too much in that to try and add it into something else. So I think like I say, it will be a separate episode. So again, thank you to everybody who has commented. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Every little helps, as a very famous supermarket says. So this episode then, I'm going to cover what I do in terms of what gear I wear and how many layers and all that sort of thing. What I will say is, this is just what I do. So do experiment. In the days you're out practicing, as I've said before, practice in all weathers. Get out when it's peeing out of the heavens. If it's blowing a gale, doesn't matter what it's doing, get out and experiment with different layers and find out what works, because you don't want to find it out halfway down the road to the first group of sections on Monday that actually you're too cold or you're too hot. So this is maybe just a wee bit of a sort of a base setting where you can work from. You can try it out and see what works for you. Over the years, this is what has worked for me, and I tend to sort of stick to it. So I would categorize, there's 2 types of day in Scotland. Both of them are wet. One of them is cold and the other one is colder. So I have 2 setups basically. So I have a cold setup and I have a colder setup. But on both those setups, the last layer that I wear is a waterproof outer layer. And I don't think I've ever started a day without my waterproofs on in Scotland. I don't think I have. I may have finished the day without the waterproofs on, but I don't think I've ever started one. So on top then, my final layer, my outer layer, is a Goretex, and it is literally just a shell. That's all it is. There's no insulation in it or anything like that. So it's just a Goretex outer shell. I do take the Tech Wash, I don't know what you call it, waterproofing solution or whatever it's called. I do take that with me, and maybe midway through the week I will wash my waterproof gear in that to try and help with the water repellency basically. Now on the bottom half I wear, and these are particularly good, and at this point I'm going to say that I am not sponsored and I do not endorse any one product in any particular way, but these are made by a company called Rab, a very well known outdoor. They are not Goretex, they are Rab's own version of Goretex, which is called Pertex Shield. These are really neat fitting. I'm quite slim, and I hate waterproofs that are baggy and they're blowing about in the wind and they're really I like waterproofs when I'm wearing them. I sort of think, you forget you're wearing them. And these are very much that way. They are, as I said, very slim fitting, but they actually stretch a little bit. So how they've managed to do that in a waterproof fabric, I don't know. Obviously, people a lot smarter than me. I have been testing those a few times now, and I haven't had any leaks or water ingress in any way. So those are really, really good. Now, what I will say is I do have a spare pair that I've used in previous events that'll be in the van or whatever, if you've got a car following you around, whatever if you're lucky enough to have a vehicle following you around. So I do just keep a spare pair there just in case. So moving on to, I'll start with the colder gear, so the really cold. I always wear 4 basic layers on top. So I have a base layer, I have a conventional riding shirt, a regular sort of trials riding jacket, and then I have the green, the Goretex outer layer. It doesn't have to be green, you can have whatever colour you want. That was just the cheapest one in the shop. So in the really cold, then my base layer, I have a slightly thicker. And again, what I will say here, I try to stay away from cotton. These are sort of fancy fabrics that I think the word is wick away sweat. So they take sweat away from your body and get rid of it. If you wear a cotton t-shirt, the cotton t-shirt will soak up the sweat okay, but it doesn't do anything with it. It just keeps it there. So your t-shirt just gets wetter and wetter and wetter. And if it is wet and then you're maybe doing a long run down the road and the cold air on your chest all the time, the t-shirt then starts to get cold. And if you get cold and the t-shirt's cold, it can be quite tricky then to warm yourself up again. So that would be one piece of advice that I would say absolutely try and stay away from a t-shirt. Different, I mean, the conditions, I'm going to mention 2017. The conditions in 2017, it was like riding in Spain all week, so most people were riding in t-shirts, but the temperature was such that it didn't really matter as much. But for traditional Scottish weather, I would try and stay away from cotton if you can. So that would be my base layer. As I said, just a conventional riding shirt. That is Hebo. Other brands are available and equally as good. I also have, this is a Hebo jacket, and this is slightly thicker. It's a wind stopper material, and it does do a really good job. It does what it says on the tin. I've had this for years, and it works really well. You can see now the zip's starting to sort of fall out of it there, but that's a really good sort of extra little thermal layer. And finally then obviously the waterproof on top of that. Now on the bottom half, I have recently acquired these S3 pants. Some of you may recognize them from the RG trial team. Thank you very much, Billy Green, for sending me them. So I've been using these because when I got them, I thought they're a little bit thicker. And they're definitely thicker than the sort of conventional trials gear that I had prior to that. So I've been testing these, and these actually work really, really well. They keep you quite cozy, but you never get sort of too warm. And again, everything's in conjunction with the waterproof outer. So that would pretty much be the really cold solution. In addition to those things, I always carry, oops, nearly dropped that in my tea. I always carry a buff. Now, if you're heading out, I'm going to say, I don't know what day it was it Wednesday or Thursday in 2019? It was quite a long run to a group called Lagan Locks. It's about 27 miles, and you're out along the side of a loch, and there's no sunshine. It's quite a steep sided valley, and it's freezing cold. So that tucked inside your waterproofs up around your mouth and nose keeps you nice and cozy. Really, really good thing to have. While we're on the subject of riding down the road, a pair of goggles. I've done Scotland without them, and I can highly recommend doing it with them. So again, that's a Hebo helmet, not sponsored or endorsed in any way. But they're really handy because they have these little goggle clips, which makes that, you just pop the goggles up there when you're riding a section, pop them down. They actually fit really neat. I think those goggles were about 20 quid, and this is going to be their third Scottish. So, that's not a lot of money really, and that's all you need. Don't be getting any sort of fancy mirrored lenses or anything like that, because you'll not need them if the sun shines. If it sun shines at all, you don't need to worry about your goggles. So that's the helmet. Let me just pop that back over there. So for my slightly warmer setup, excuse me a second. Again, 4 basic layers. So base layer, riding shirt, jacket, outer. But the base layer is, I don't know if you can maybe see through that. It's really, really thin, and again, not cotton. If you've gone for your sort of warmer setup and it turns out cold, you've always got your buff and whatever else in your backpack, so you can always put the buff on if it's a wee bit chilly. It'll sort of help, so again, that's the base layer. Conventional riding shirt. I have another jacket which is pretty lightweight as well. You can see the graphics through it there, so you can see how thin that jacket is. But again, it stops the wind, which is really good. Even if you are warmer and you're maybe not wearing your outer layer, your Goretex outer layer, those little jackets, be it that one or the black one I showed you earlier, are really good at stopping any sort of cool breeze on your chest and maintaining your sort of core temperature. So that's that's the slightly warmer jacket. Now, bottom half of the warmer setup, I use these Hebo trousers, but these are really, really thin. So even though this is my warmer setup, I actually wear those with a pair of long johns underneath them. And again, not cotton. I think those are merino wool or something fancy like that, but they're really, really good. So that would be my slightly warmer setup. In terms of gloves, I don't really wear anything other than standard trials gloves. I've a selection there that I've used over the years. The first Scottish I rode, I did take a pair of heavier gloves for colder days on the road, but I actually found that once they got slightly wet, or your hands were wet, they were really hard to get them on and off. So I ditched that. I don't bother taking. I just use the standard weight trials glove now. So that's pretty much that for gear. Like I say, if anybody has any questions, feel free to message me on Facebook or stick it in the comments there. I will have a think about the extra episode that I mentioned earlier. I'll have a think about that. I might even speak nicely to Kirsten Pennycook and see if she can send me a template of your route card for the day, so I can show you that, and maybe that might help. So I'll speak to Kirsten and see if she can send me one of those. Thanks again for watching the videos and getting the feedback. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will try to get the next episode on the bike preparation. I'll try to get that done maybe over the weekend. There's a wee bit more involved in sort of doing that one, so I'll try and do it over a weekend and get it up early next week. Thanks for watching.